Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for visiting Rabbani Research. We will talk on the elements of good judgment today, and this presentation is based on the article The Elements of Good Judgment by Sir Andrew Lickerman, who is a professor at London Business School and a director of Times newspaper and Beasley Group, both also in London. He has served as Dean of the London Business School and is a former director of the Bank of England. This is his picture. You can see this, and this article was published in Harvard Business Review. A decision has to be made. The facts have been assembled and the arguments for and against the options spelled out, but no clear evidence supports any particular one. Now people around the table turn to CEO. What they are looking for is good judgment, an interpretation of the evidence that points to the right choice. Judgment, the core of exemplary leadership, the ability to combine personal qualities with relevant knowledge and experience to form opinions and make decisions, is the core of exemplary leadership. It is what enables a sound choice in the absence of a clear-cut relevant data or an obvious path. To some degree, we are all capable of forming views and interpreting evidence. What we need, of course, is good judgment. Some experts define it as an acquired instinct of gut feeling that somehow combines deep experience with analytical skills at an unconscious level to produce an insight or recognize a pattern that others overlook. Learning: listen attentively, read carefully, read critically. Practices that leaders can adopt, skills they can cultivate, and relationships they can build will inform the judgments they make. Good judgment requires that you turn knowledge into understanding. This sounds obvious, but as ever, the devil is in the detail. In this case, your approach to learning. Many leaders rush to bad judgments because they unconsciously filter the information they receive or are not sufficiently critical of what they hear or read. Information overload. It is not surprising that CEOs with huge demands on their time and attention struggle to get through the volume of emails and briefing papers they receive. As a director of a large listed company, I would get up to 1,000,000 words to read ahead of a big meeting. Confronted with such deluge, it is tempting to skim and to remember only the material that confirms our beliefs. That's why smart leaders demand quality rather than quantity in what gets to them. It's 6-page maximum for agenda items at Amazon or Bank of England. Active listening. It includes picking up on what's not said, and interpreting body language is a valuable skill to be honed, and plenty of advice exists. Beware of own filters and of defensiveness or aggression that may discourage alternative arguments. If you get bored and impatient when listening, ask questions and check conclusions. If you are overwhelmed by written briefing material, focus on the parts that discuss questions and issues rather than those that summarize the presentation you will hear at the meeting. Look for gaps or discrepancies in what's being said or written. Think carefully about where the underlying data is coming from and the likely interest of the people supplying it. If you can get input and data from people on more than one side of an argument, especially people you don't usually agree with. Trust. Seek diversity, not validation. Leadership shouldn't be a solitary endeavor. Leaders can draw on the skills and experiences of others as well as their own. When they approach a decision, who these advisors are and how much trust the leader places in them are critical to the quantity of that leader's judgment. Alibaba's Jack Ma thinks along the same line. Recognizing his own ignorance of technology, he was 33 when he got his first computer. Ma hired John Wu of Yahoo as his chief technology officer, commenting, "For a first class company, we need first class technology. When John comes, I can sleep soundly." Ma isn't the only mega entrepreneur who has looked for advisors with organizational and personal qualities and experience to fill a void in himself. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg hired Sheryl Sandberg for a similar reason. To improve, cultivate sources of trusted advice. When you are recruiting people on whose advice you will rely, don't take outcomes as a proxy for their good judgment. Make judgment an explicit factor in appraisals and promotion decisions. Usha Prashar, who chaired the body that makes the UK's most senior judicial appointments, pointed to the need to probe how a candidate did things, not just what he or she has done. Dominic Barton of McKinsey told me that he looked for what was not being said. Did people fail to mention that any real difficulties or setbacks or failures in their careers to date? One CEO said he asked people about situations in which they had insufficient information or conflicting advice. Don't be put off by assessments that a candidate is different. Someone who disagree with you could provide the challenge you need. Make it relevant but not narrow. Beyond the data and evidence pertinent to a decision, leaders bring their experience to bear when making judgment calls. Experience gives context and helps us identify potential solutions and anticipate challenges. If they have previously encountered something like a current challenge, leaders can scope out areas in which to focus their energy and resources. Success is not a reliable proxy for judgment. It is tempting to assume that past successes are a sign of good judgment, and in some cases they are. But, and it's a big but, if the experience is narrowly based, familiarity can be dangerous. If my company is planning to enter an Indian market, I might not trust the judgment of a person whose only product launches have been in the United States. I would probably be less worried about someone who had also launched new products in, say, China and South Africa, because such a person would be less likely to ignore important signals. Leaders with deep experience in a particular domain may fall into a rut, making judgments out of habit, complacency, or overconfidence. It usually takes an external crisis to expose this failure, for which the lack of lifeboats for the Titanic is the enduring symbol, and the 2008 financial crisis the moment of truth for many apparently unassailable titans. The equivalent today are those leaders who have underestimated the speed with which environmental issues would move center stage, and they require a tangible response. To improve, first assess how well you draw on your own experience to make decisions. Start by going through your important judgment calls to identify what went well and what went badly, including whether you drew on the right experience and whether the analogies you made were appropriate. Record both the wrong and the right. This is tough, and it is tempting to rewrite the history, which is why it can be helpful to share your conclusions with a coach or colleagues who might take a different view of the same experience. Try also to recruit a smart friend who can be a neutral critic. If you are a young leader, work to expand your experience. Try to get postings abroad or in key corporate functions such as finance, sales, and manufacturing. Get yourself on an acquisition team for a major deal, and as a CEO, a crucial support you can give high potential managers is more varied exposure to get involved in career planning. That will not just do the young managers a favor, it will help the company and very possibly you, because it will broaden the experience into which you can tap. Detachment. Identify and then challenge biases. As you process information and draw on the diversity of your own and other people's knowledge, it is critical that you understand and address your own biases. Although passion about objectives and values is a wonderful leadership quality that can inspire followers to greater effort, it can also affect how you process information, learn from experience, and select advisors. The ability to detach both intellectually and emotionally is therefore a vital component of good judgment, but it's a difficult skill to master. To improve, understand, clarify, and accept different viewpoints. Encourage people to engage in role playing and simulations, which forces them to consider agendas other than their own and can provide a safe space for dissent. If employees are encouraged to play the role of a competitor, for example, they can experiment with an idea that they might be reluctant to suggest to the boss. Leadership development programs are a great forum in which to challenge assumptions by exposing people to colleagues from different cultures and geographies who come to the discussion with different views. Finally, people with good judgment make sure they have processes in place that keep them aware of the biases. After discovering how much value had been destroyed, one company established new practices. Major decisions now require that biases be on the table before a discussion, and when necessary, that a devil's advocate participate. Acknowledge that mistakes will occur and doubt the judgment of anyone who assumes they won't. When you have to move fast. In most cases, good judgment requires reflection before action. In hindsight, many bad judgment calls were inevitable simply because important options and the risk of unintended consequences were never even considered. This happens for a variety of reasons, including risk aversion in the part of the people supplying potential answers. That's why thoroughly exploring the solution set is a key to leaders exercise judgment. It is not CEO's job to come up with a true option, but he or she can ensure that the management team delivers a full range of possibilities, counteracting fears and biases that cause the team to self edit. When the options can be debated, the judgment is more likely to be right. To improve, press the clarification on poorly presented information and challenge your people if you think important facts are missing. Questions their question their weighing of the variables on which their arguments depend. If timing appears to be a key consideration, determine that it's legitimate. Factor in the risks associated with novel solutions, stress, and overconfidence, and look for opportunities to mitigate them through piloting. Use modeling, triangulation, and the opportunity afforded by artificial intelligence. Consult those you trust. If there isn't anyone or enough time, try to imagine that someone you trust would do. Get clear about rules and ethical issues because they will help you filter your choices. Finally, don't be afraid to consider radical options. Discussing them could make you and others aware of some that are less radical but well worth considering and may encourage other people to speak up. Delivery factor in the feasibility of execution. You can make all the right strategic choices but still end up losing out if you don't exercise judgment in how and by whom those choices will be executed. In 1880, the French diplomat and entrepreneur Ferdinand de Lesseps persuaded investors to support digging a canal in Panama to link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Because the de Lesseps had just completed the Suez Canal, investors and politicians, failing to understand that building a canal through sand does not qualify you to build one through jungle, did not give his plans the scrutiny they deserved. His approach proved disastrously unsuitable, and it was left to the US government to complete the canal by taking a very different approach. To improve in assessing a proposal, make sure that experience of the people recommending the investment closely matches its context. If they point to their prior work, ask them to explain why that work is relevant to the current situation. Get the advocates to question their assumptions by engaging in pre-mortem discussions in which participants try to surface what might cause a proposal to fail. One company now does this as part of its project evaluation process. Conclusion: leaders need many qualities, but underlying them all is good judgment. Those with ambition but no judgment run out of money. Those with charisma but no judgment lead their followers in the wrong direction. Those with passion but no judgment hurl themselves down the wrong path. Those with drive but no judgment get up very early to do the wrong things. Sheer luck and factors beyond your control may determine your eventual success, but good judgment will stack the cards in your favor. Wish you good luck, best of luck. We are business consultants based in Pakistan. If you need to accelerate your organizational performance and transform your company to meet the upcoming business challenges for a better tomorrow, please contact for a turnaround. You can find us at rabbaniresearch.net. Trust Rabbani for quality competence. Thank you so much.